Hi everyone, my name is Laura Jensen and I am the Content Executive for IBTM, and we're back for another coffee break chat today. Today we're here with Matt Allen, the Managing Director of CrowdComms, and one of the speakers who'll be joining us in person at IBTM World Barcelona this November. Matt will be speaking on day 2 of the event and we'll be discussing the engagement challenge, how gamification can enhance your delegate experience, specifically at virtual and hybrid events. And this is a pretty big topic for our industry at the moment. So why don't we start with a bit of a broad question? Obviously, engagement has been big over the past year, especially as we've been had to transition to virtual and then back into hybrid events. But what would you say has been kind of the biggest challenge in delivering those sorts of events?
There's been lots of challenges. I think picking the biggest, there's been big challenges that have happened at different stages of the journey. So I think the biggest challenge initially was just helping clients to understand that just because it was a virtual event didn't mean that it was going to be easy or straightforward and you could do it in a week. We still needed people to focus on content is king. So the quality of your content is as imperative for virtual as it is for hybrid. And I think when we first started, people were thinking, okay, well, we're just going to run a session and we'll do it'll be a week and we'll do this, rather than focusing on the basic principles of running an event. Quality of content, prepping your speakers, leaving sensible rehearsal times, considering the agenda. So I think that was the big education piece initially. And I think the next step was scalability. It went from being part of the event to being the event. So we would always sit there with an event app and 50% of people would download it, and or 60% if we were lucky, and we'd be very happy with it. And suddenly we were, the event. It was imperative for everyone's experience that they could access this platform, which meant that rather than 2,000, 4,000 people are attending, and there were 10 events running each day, which meant you had concurrent users of 40,000 on a platform. And there were lots of platforms that just weren't ready to cope with that kind of volume. So I think scalability became the next concern. Everyone logging in at the same time, what kind of server infrastructure was required for that? And I think it then evolved to become a security. And I know I'm already on my third big one here, sorry. But it became security that was pivotal. We were approved as an app provider, obviously, to work with our clients, but we had to go through separate security clearance for using the same platform. So suddenly things like ISO 27001 and in the US, in a global audience, we were looking at SOC 1, SOC 2 as being, pre-requirements of becoming a vendor. Multi-factor authentication, single sign-on, things that people were concerned about but weren't essential, suddenly were essential to the event. So that became, the really big piece around data security, so scalability and security. I think if we focus from an attendee perspective, the biggest obstacle, though, the biggest challenge has to be that isolation of watching from home. I'm watching from home and I'm watching alone. And I think as platform providers in a virtual capacity, that's been our biggest challenge. How can we solve that problem so that people don't feel isolated, that they can feel part of a community, that they can be heard and they can engage with content? And it's a big challenge. I'm not sure we've properly got there, if I'm honest, but we're doing our best to.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, we definitely experienced some of those challenges you were talking about just then on IBTM World Virtual last year. We did well. I mean, I did. I think the rest of the team were probably a little bit more aware, but looking at it, it was very much like, oh, well, it's virtual. We've done webinars, we've done things like this before. It's not too different. And it was like, oh no, this is big. This is a big event that we're still doing, even though, it's all online. It doesn't make that difference. It doesn't make too much of a difference in what you're doing. And I suppose, like you said, engagement, getting people connected with the screen when they're sitting, watching, listening for an hour or a couple if they're watching multiple sessions. And I suppose, and I'm asking this in a very roundabout way, but I suppose my question is, when we're heading back towards hybrid, I know that a lot of people, a lot of event planners are considering getting back into hybrid events, possibly fully in-person events, all of that sort of thing. How do we make sure that the people watching online don't feel that disconnect from the event that is happening in person? And obviously there may not be an answer to that yet, but how could we potentially bridge that?
I think the first part of it is just accepting that it's different. So accepting that, from childhood, I'm taught to use all of my senses when I walk into a room. I can see people, and I immediately feel comfortable because I can look at people and see check body language. I can use all of those senses, even smell, although that's not always a good one. But I'm taught to use all of those senses to kind of gauge an experience and how I kind of fit into that experience, and that dictates my confidence in how I approach that situation. You remove those things, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing is to accept that it is different. I think the second piece in terms of the engagement is to not try and overcomplicate it. I hear people really complicating hybrid, and I don't know whether they're doing it just because they want to be able to justify charging more money for it, or whether they just don't understand it. Because if you accept that they are subtly different, and then you focus on people watching the same content at the same time. So what are we there for? We're there for content. We're there for content or networking. So let's enable people to watch content at the same time. And I find it very odd when I listen to people accepting the fact that they might have a minute or 2 minute latency on a platform. That's not watching content at the same time, and you can't engage if you are 2 minutes behind. So a low latency model, so you're watching content as close to, and I say low latency, as soon after the in-person audience have watched it, so that you can engage with the speaker, you can participate in a poll, you can ask a question that's heard by the in-person audience. We can participate in gamification. I know you mentioned it. So we might do our quizzes or our treasure hunts or incentivize delegates to go and see our exhibitors. And you are on a level playing field when you're doing all of that engagement. The critical piece is that as organizers, we make sure they're watching at the same time, they've got access to the same content on the same platform. So I'm not using a companion app or a different suite. I am accessing a platform that formats to my device. And it picks up on whether I'm there or not. So it changes the user experience slightly. And then I engage with the same content. And then what you have to realize, the only complicating factor, or the only factor that escalates cost, is the filming of that session. And when I've turned up to big events, like I can't wait to be at IBTM, but there's cameras running at the back anyway. There always has been, because you're filming the content. So just take the feed and spit that feed out to a remote audience, so they're watching it in real time. So you're doing the things that you need to do, the things that you've always been doing. Just provide the same platform, watch it at the same time, and you have a hybrid event.
Yeah. I mean, you make it sound very easy.
I'm sure it's more complicated. But it is. I think simplifying it makes it easier for the user, and it makes it easier for the organizer as well.
Absolutely. And just as you mentioned there, obviously IBTM World Barcelona is coming back this year, and of course we've all had a year away. What are you kind of most looking forward to about getting back to it?
Well, I'm just at the moment, I'm really excited. I'm just
Me too.
Yeah, I do. I love Barcelona, so I'm just, to be honest with you, coming from over in England, I haven't been anywhere for some time, and over the next couple of weeks I've got some exciting trips, one of which is definitely going to Barcelona. So even the process of getting there is exciting. We're contemplating. One of my colleagues, Will Custard, is also speaking, and he's doing a session on carbon footprint. And so it looks like me and him are going to take the train. So it's going to be, we're looking at how we compare. We've done some analysis on comparing the carbon footprint and how we can affect that by how we get to an event. So we're looking at different transportation methods. I don't think he was keen on cycling. So we're looking at taking the train, which is costing dramatically more. But so it's weighing up those things. But the process of getting there is exciting. Just being able to do the things that I referenced before. You see people walk up to a stand and talk to us about our product, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to shake hands, but I don't need to. Just that eye contact is different in person than virtually. And I think people quite often think that as a company that has been working in a virtual environment for so long, that we want virtual events. I just want events. I want to be at events, physical events, virtual events, hybrid events. There's space for all of the event formats. So just to be there and see people is the thing that I'm looking forward to most. And of course, doing my
Absolutely.
session, hopefully,
Of
if it goes
course.
well.
Yes. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm exactly the same. I can't wait to see people again, meet people, and yeah, we'll have to bump into each other on the show floor.
That'd be nice. That'd be really nice, Laura.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining me today for our quick chat about your wonderful session. I look forward to hearing more about it when it goes live on the show floor. So, to everyone watching, thank you for what's the word? Watching, joining us today, and don't forget to register for IBTM World Barcelona so that you can attend that session on day 2 of the event. So that's the 1st of December, and all of the other great sessions. Will's session, of course, as well, which I believe is on day 1. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura. See you all soon.